Richard Burton was never just an actor. He was a man whose private life burned just as brightly as anything he ever performed on stage. And at his funeral, nobody talked about the roles. They talked about her. When Burton died, the conversations among friends kept circling back to one woman. Not his Oscar nominations, not his legendary voice, not the decades of acclaimed performances, just her. The same woman whose name had been woven into his story for decades, long after any marriage certificate or headline had reason to keep them connected. Burton spent most of his life guarding the emotional truth of what that meant. He gave interviews freely about craft, about literature, about politics. But the deeper questions, the ones about love, he handled carefully, sometimes evasively. People close to him understood why. The world thought it knew his story. It mostly knew the spectacle. 5 women shaped the man behind that spectacle, and each deserves to be understood on her own terms. Sybil Williams came first. She knew Burton before fame arrived, before Hollywood, before the headlines, before any of it. They met in the late 1940s on the British stage, when Burton was still an uncertain young man with large ambitions and an empty wallet. She believed in him without evidence, which is the rarest kind of belief there is. They married in 1949, built a quiet life, raised 2 daughters, and by most accounts, Burton was genuinely happy during those years. According to those who knew them, he cherished the simplicity of it. Then Hollywood called, and simple became impossible. Their marriage ultimately collapsed under the weight of what came next, and reportedly, Burton carried guilt about that for the rest of his life. The woman who came next needs little introduction. Elizabeth Taylor. They met on the set of Cleopatra in the early 1960s, and what followed became one of the most talked-about relationships in entertainment history. The Vatican condemned them. Newspapers followed their every move. According to virtually everyone present, their chemistry was immediate and overwhelming, the kind that changes people permanently. They married, they divorced, they married again, they divorced again, and even then, by multiple accounts, they never fully let go of each other. Letters were exchanged. Phone calls were made. When one struggled, the other would reportedly reach out. Some connections, it seems, don't require a legal framework to survive. Susie Miller entered his life when Burton seemed ready to move forward. According to those around him, he genuinely wanted the marriage to work. But the world wouldn't cooperate. Every interview circled back to Elizabeth. Every profile compared the present to the past. It reportedly wore on both of them, and the relationship eventually ended, less from conflict, some felt, than from the sheer weight of history. Then came Sally Hay in his final years. She offered something Burton had rarely experienced: genuine calm. No competition with the past, no performance required. According to friends, she simply loved the man he actually was, not the legend the press had constructed. That quiet dignity was, by many accounts, exactly what those final years needed. In his later years, Burton grew more reflective. The defensiveness faded. When Elizabeth's name came up, and it always did, those around him noticed something shift in his expression. Not bitterness. Not longing exactly. Something more like acceptance. Some people don't just leave a mark on your life. They become the measure of it. If these hidden stories of Hollywood's most complex figures fascinate you, subscribe and stick around. There's always more beneath the surface.